Testing, testing, test ickles, test ickles. Welcome everyone to episode 757 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular swolecast, beardcast, broadcast, gamecast, mancast, pimpcast, and sleazecast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex. We all flex our biceps. We're getting yoked from our head to our feet, and Papa Swolio is going to go balls deep. The hair is down. The beard is unkempt, but it looks like it's kempt, but it's unkempt. I promise you. I think you can see it now. The beard is ruthless and reckless, and it's appropriate for a Saturday. I don't have to have the beard tamed any day of the week, let alone Saturday. But because it's Saturday, a little bit extra, I don't give a fuck about the beard. So hello on Instagram, Pilot JR, Papa, some black hearts. Ooh, the black heart Papa Swolio. Yes, that's what I'll take it. I'll take it. What's going on YouTube? Float something over there. Say something. Say something. Top chat. Live chat. I want to see all the messages. Why would I want to just see the top ones? I want to see everyone's comments. Alicia, Adam, 757 son. Nice. Yeah, I know, right? I know. It is 757. You know, we step back for a little bit and all of a sudden the numbers keep climbing, and then all of a sudden someone brings that to my attention. It's like, oh yeah, shit. 757. It's like getting up there, yo. Getting up there, doing some work. Papa Swolio doing it nasty. What up, Papa Dog? What's up, Dale? What's going on, fam? Today's episode is 757. So again, make sure that you are floating some hearts, saying what up on the Quadcast, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can also catch the podcast on SoundCloud and Apple Podcast. Who here listens to the podcast as well? Does anyone do both? I think some of you do both, right? Obviously, you got to catch some of the old ones. You're going to watch me when I'm live. You're going to try to catch me live, try to catch Papa Swolio live, and then you're got to catch up on some of the other ones. If you got your commute game strong, everyone's going to be mowing the lawn again. Summer's coming. Summer's here. Yeah, it's here. It's here. It's like hot, sweaty, humid, wet ball sack, moist taint kind of thing in Florida now. That's the time of year that we have. We have it's like taint weather. We'll call it taint weather. Oliver, it's great in the car when I can catch it live. Nice. Good stuff. Sensei Swolio, how you doing, fam? I'm doing great, Duff. I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Strength versus mobility is on the Swole Dick Tip today. So Swole, not Swole, Swole versus mobility. Strength, I guess Swole. Strength versus mobility. I want to have a discussion about which is important. I just laid down another video about this. I'll come out in a couple days. But I did want to preface the conversation because it was a question that was posed to me. I forget if it was on Instagram or on Facebook. Well, which is more important, And a lot of you are starting your fitness journeys. You're starting to get in shape, right? You're making those moves and you're just getting started, right? You're just entering the fitness realm, or you've been training for a while, but you still feel like a beginner. You never really took the time to learn. You just been doing the exercise. So actually right now, if you are, I drop in the comments, what kind of fitness person are you? Are you a beginner? Because here's the thing, if you're a beginner, there's different kinds of beginners. I'm brand new, I've never done anything. And there is the beginner that has been working out for 10 years, but they really don't understand fitness, right? They've been doing spin classes, exercise classes. They've been doing programs and kind of following it. So they're not a beginner in terms of they've never lifted weights, but they're a beginner in the sense that I've never really learned about my body. I've never really learned what the science is or like the reality. They never really plugged in, right? You never really looked in yourself and learned. Just kind of always followed DVDs or followed workouts, which is, there's nothing wrong with it. You can call that, we'll call that intermediate. How about that? We'll call that intermediate. All right, I'll give you a little bit more benefit. No one wants to admit that they're a beginner. No one wants to admit that they don't know anything. But none of us really know anything. What does it really mean? What does it really mean to know something, right? What does it mean to be an expert? What does it mean? I mean, I've had more experiences than a lot of you because I've submerged my life into fitness, right? That's been my passion, that's been my interest, that's been my career, my work, that's how I've made a living. That's what I've done has been the fitness industry. So, in terms of being an expert, sure, I happen to be formally educated and also hands-on experience. I've literally done it myself. I've showed other people how to do it. I've taught other people. I taught personal trainers and certifications, and I've done national speaking. So I've done that. So yeah, I have a lot of experience in all aspects of the industry, but you are likely or or in suit an expert in your field, something whatever you've done for your career more so than I am. So an expert is experience. It's what you've gone through. It's your application, not just your education. And that's really what's most important when it comes to jobs, right? Is your experience. You need sometimes education to get your foot in the door. You need some basic knowledge for some job, not so much anymore, but you need some base expertise or knowledge so then you can get started at a certain position and then learn from experience and put these things into action and trial and error. And you have different jobs and you develop and grow. And that's what we call life, right? That's what we all do. You just kind of move forward in your field and you do different things. And maybe sometimes you change after a few years and you find interest in something else. All right. So we adjust and adapt. That being said, the same thing goes for any career, right? Any career in any life. So when it comes to strength versus mobility, what's more important? It comes down to what context you're talking about, because I can say that I can make an argument for either one being more important than the other. I could also make the argument that one is kind of the same as the other. It depends on how you look at it. You could have mobility strength, in my opinion, and I guess you could have mobile strength or functional strength. It kind of depends on how you define both of those things. And the way I want to just gradually and kind of generally code over it, not going to get super, super granular, just going to talk about the general concepts of it. Strength is more about the force output, right? It's more about what you are moving and leveraging in terms of your muscular force production internally, right? Your internal force overcoming an external stimulus or an internal tension overcoming an external force. So you are creating tension inside the muscle. You're creating this literally this reciprocating force, this resistance to the external tension, right? So you have a weight against gravity and you are resisting. You're resisting it and you're overcoming it, right? So if you're doing repetitions, you're overcoming it and you're moving it through space. That's strength. Now there's absolute strength and there is relative strength. And what that means is absolute strength means how much resistance is it, how much force, and how much is being moved. 200 pounds is being lifted, 300 pounds is being lifted, 400 pounds is being lifted. That's absolute strength. Relative strength has to do with your body mass. So, is a 150-pound person lifting 300 pounds, or is a 300-pound person lifting 300 pounds? Is that 300-pound person lifting their own body weight? And is the 150-pound person lifting twice their body weight? So, relatively, that 150-pound person is relatively stronger than the 300 because lifting twice their body mass as opposed to lifting equal body mass. So there's absolute and relative strength. Mobility, range of motion, flexibility, a lot of different words used for the similar concept, taking the joints as designed through ranges of motion and planes of motion that they're designed to go through. Now you have different joints in the body. So strength can be associated kind of like with stability, and mobility can be associated with flexibility, range of motion, that kind of thing. So you have different areas of the body, some that are designed for more strength output, some that are designed for more mobility and functionality. You have stable joints and you have mobile joints. And this is so your body can excel in both ways, because if you're too stable, you're not mobile. If you're too mobile, you're not stable. And that's going to sacrifice strength. It's going to increase the injury risk if you don't have stability in the joints, and vice versa. If you're too stable and you're not mobile enough, you can have a lot of issues with herniations. You can have a lot of issues with tweaks and with tears and stuff because it's too stable. And then we're not able to have any kind of chaos and reaction and mobility in our life. So it's not good to be too much either one or the other. That's why the body alternates very, very consistently throughout the body, alternating mobile joints and stable joints. So let me explain. The shoulder joint And we'll talk about the humerus with the scapula is a mobile joint, it's a ball and socket. The elbow is a hinge joint, and that's more stable. Then the wrist is more of a mobile joint, and then the fingers become more more stable again. With the actual hinges in the in the phalanges. Same with the hip. You have the ball and socket in the hip joint. Then you have the knee, which is more stable. Then you have the ankle, which is more mobile, and then you have the toes and the foot muscle, which becomes more stable again. So you have this alternating essentially. Same thing with the back. You have the stable lumbar spine. You have the more mobile thoracic spine. You have the stable sacral and the coccyx, and you have the more mobile hip, and then you have so it alternates essentially. So your body combines movements. Your body combines and orchestrates movements like a conductor, right? Your body organizes movements around these different styles, these different types of joints in order to execute the action with the most safety and strength if required and mobility if required. And that's how the body is supposed to move. So by having poor posture, right? By sitting down so often, by being locked and not doing yoga and just doing strength training all the time, we limit how the body is able to move, and we increase our risk injury, our risk of injury. So I can't say that you're going to get hurt. I can't say that you're going to get injured. I can't say that this is going to solve an injury. I can't talk about pain. It's not legal for me to say that. I can't, you know, you're going to take it's like snake oil. I can't say it's going to do these things, but a lot of times pain and discomfort comes from these imbalances. So if it comes from these imbalances, fixing the imbalances can, in many cases, reduce pain and discomfort. That's just a common sense, right? It makes sense. If something is the cause and you fix the cause, the effect is going to change. And when we talk about which one's more important, strength and mobility, obviously you can tell it's not really that simple. One's better than the other. But I will have to say, if you had to choose one, I would say mobility is more important than strength because you're going to lose your mobility before you will lose your strength. Mobility is more important for everyone than strength is. And that's because if you take the extremes, and this is just like, okay, if we have to pick a winner, this one checks off the most boxes. That's all I'm saying. They're both vital. They're absolutely vital for a long, quality of life. But if you had a power lifter and let's say the average person, strength is relatively important to the power lifter and to the average person because the average person doesn't need to lift 500 pounds. They need to be able to lift the groceries out of the back of the car, pick up the kids, work on their car, add a shelf in the kitchen, whatever it is. The average person needs average relative strength. They don't need absolute strength. They don't need they don't need a big max, right? They don't need a huge 1 RM. They don't. But then you take the power lifter, they do. That's their job. That's their career. That's their competition. That's what they're trying to accomplish is lifting more weight. So the power lifter is going to need more strength. When it comes to mobility, the average person does need mobility because they need to do all these things. They have chaos in their life. You're bending, you're twisting, you're turning, you're sitting, you're playing. It's going to be the mobility. If you had to pick one, because that's going to be across the board important for both parties and for both groups, whereas the strength and the absolute strength is going to be most important for the power lifter. And that's just okay. If we had to really pick one, leave here with the winner, that's what I would go with. And it's really the first thing that you lose. If you take a couple weeks off, how many of you have taken a couple weeks off from the gym? If you're watching live, and I think the connection might be a little iffy, but if you're watching live and you're hearing me say this right now, drop in the comments, how did you feel when you came back after, let's say, 2 weeks off from lifting? Did you feel great? Did you feel really weak, or did you get a sick pump and you had an amazing workout? Usually when you take some time off, you come back with a vengeance. You have just amazing pumps. You feel leaner. You look more, ripped. You just have this amazing explosion because you've healed properly, right? You've actually recovered completely. It's always a shocker. You might feel weak a little bit, but it comes back like in one workout, or you have an amazing pump. This might be something that if you're more advanced, you might notice more. If you're kind of a beginner in terms of fitness, you might not see it as much or know what I'm talking about. But it doesn't matter if you've had this experience. This is subjective. I just want to know if you felt this or if you felt really great when you came back after 2 weeks. If you didn't work out for 6 months, you're out of training. You're going to feel really stiff and weak and everything. I'm talking about a week, 3 days, 2 weeks, maybe. After any longer than that, and you've really kind of been out of the gym and you're gonna be like detrained. So I'm not talking about you didn't train for a month and you felt great. I'm talking about like maybe a week plus or minus, maybe 2 weeks, but more like a week, 3 days, 5 days. You take a little bit extra time off instead of 2 days for yoga or a weekend or whatever your thing is, but then you actually take some time off and you recover completely. You're gonna feel 100% different. You're gonna feel great. You're gonna recover, get some sick pumps. I've had that experience. That's been my shit. I felt great after taking, a small amount of time off. But so the strength doesn't disappear. You might feel weak that first workout, but then you come back and you're gonna feel amazing. It might take 1 workout. It might take 1, maybe 2 workouts, and all of a sudden your strength is back and everything's back to normal. It's not just one time. So if you're exposing yourself regularly to mobility, mobility is gonna go quick. If you don't do mobility work for a week, you're gonna feel stiff as hell. A lot more than you'll feel your strength decrease. You're gonna feel a lot more out of the game by not doing mobility. Same thing with cardiovascular activity. If you back off your cardiovascular output, you're going to feel more out of breath and more strained when you come back. You're going to lose mobility and you're going to lose cardiovascular capacity faster than you'll lose strength and muscle size. You're not going to deflate. You're not going to lose all your strength just because you didn't lift weights for a week or 2 weeks. That's ridiculous. The feeling of weakness and just kind of waking up and kind of getting your body back into the routine, that's so different. Those are two very different things. Remember feelings, how you feel. Are you actually weak? Do you feel smaller or do you just not feel pumped? Like if you don't lift weights for a couple days, right now I might feel small or I feel weak. I look in the mirror, I look in the reflection, I'm like, all right, you didn't lose any size. You're still the same. You just feel. You don't feel inflamed. You don't feel tight. You don't feel sore. That doesn't mean that you aren't growing. That doesn't mean that you aren't muscular. It doesn't mean that you aren't lean. It doesn't mean that you don't have a physique. The mind will play tricks on you. So how you perceive things with the mind is essential. That's the game changer. That's the ticket, is how you perceive your situation, how you perceive your progress, how you quantify your progress, how you're measuring your progress. Yesterday's podcast, yesterday's podcast 756, we talked about chasing numbers. You remember that? Anyone that saw or heard or was here for yesterday, we talked about chasing numbers and why that's dangerous, why that can take you down a dangerous road. And it can. It can. You can absolutely be a number chaser and it'll take you down a dark path where you're never satisfied. You're just changing or chasing a body fat percentage, or you're chasing a max, or you're chasing a certain body weight. You're trying to gain muscle and gain to a certain capacity. That can take you down a dark road. That can take you down a place where you're never satisfied, where you never actually reach it because you keep on dangling this carrot in front of your face, but it's like unrealistic. And you're gauging your success and your happiness and whether or not you're doing well in your training based on that. And that can really deceive you and that can really jerk you around a lot because as we know, as most of us know, I shouldn't say as we all know because that's not true. Progress isn't linear in the gym. You don't just keep on gaining and seeing progress endlessly. Plateaus are going to happen. You're going to backslide. It's natural hormone cycles. It's natural responses for the body, protection mechanisms, detraining, backing off your training. I mean, your body can adapt to a lot of things. Your body can adapt to resistance training. Your body can change. Think of how fucking crazy that is. Think of how crazy that is. This is not far out, psychology stuff. This is just common sense, amazing human evolutionary just science. Think about this. Your body adapts and morphs in size. Your body changes the way it looks to adapt to its surroundings. I've been lifting for almost 20 years, right? Training, different stuff, and my body has changed the way it looks. That's insane. It's insane when you think about it. My body has built more muscle mass to adapt to where I go and what I do during the day. Over time, it's changed. It's morphed like clay. That's phenomenal. And your body is doing that from a defensive standpoint. Your body isn't doing that to be aggressive. Your body isn't doing that because your body wants to be on the cover of Men's Fitness. Your body doesn't know that shit. Your body doesn't have an ego. Your body is just physical tissue. What your body does know is that it's protecting itself against these stresses, right? The stresses, it's external force. It's external force. Your body is protecting itself against these external forces. These external forces, be it the weights, are fighting the body. It's danger. These external forces are providing danger to the body, and the body is saying, "Whoa, I need to protect myself because if I don't, these weights are going to crush my body. It's going to crush my face, my biceps. It's going to crush my elbow, my chest. It's going to crush." So your body defends itself. It pushes them out of the way. It gets them away. And of course, obviously, you choose to do them 6 reps, 10 reps, 8 reps, multiple times. In other words, you teach your body to defend itself well from these weights. And your body defends itself by building muscle, by getting stronger, more endurance, more cardio, or this, blah, more flexibility, more mobility from yoga, blah, blah, blah. Your body defends itself. Your body defends itself. So that's why you need time off. That's why you need deloading. That's why you need periods. But you need periods where you give your body a chance to relax from defending itself. It's not just a matter of going lighter with the weights. It's like give your body a break. Give your body some time to not play defense. Make sense? That's why rest. That's why complete rest. That's why complete nothing is also good. It's very strategic to do nothing, like no yoga, just completely no physical activity, just really repair and really maybe not a lot of it, but every once in a while, a day where you just maybe you meditate, you just keep it all above the shoulders. But there's a lot to be said for legit, pure, huge, big time, blank, clean slate rest days. It's not changed, man. It's smaller and bigger. What does that mean? What's smaller and bigger? The beard's bigger, but my PP is shrinking. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you said to me, bro? Huh? Is that what you said? Just kidding. Most important, doing yoga on those off days, Oliver. Yeah, well, that's the active recovery. Sure. And we talked about that yesterday, making your off days as important as your training days. And if you do that, you're going to see a lot more progress. It's important. Zach Perez, why does the body develop pain if it adapts to being stagnant? What do you mean, bro? Explain that one a little bit more. You mean develop pain by being stagnant? So if you're sitting on your butt all the time for years, you mean you'll develop pain from not exercising? Zach, is that what you mean? Just clarify that. That way I can answer it. I don't want to give a whole lengthy answer. And if that wasn't your question, thank you for your question, dude. So just let me know if that's what you mean. You mean develops pain from lack of exercise. I know it's out of context, but the grass-fed patties with the kale are freaking awesome. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. That's in reference to the recipe Mama Swolio's Kitchen over on Swolenormousx.com. So those of you that are, those of you that are Swolenormous X members, I hope you enjoyed the new instructional videos. Hope you enjoy those and the recipes. So I did add some more recipes. If you haven't checked them out and you're a Swolenormous X member, go check those out. Because I did add some more like a day or two ago. So if you looked when I first launched the recipe section, but there's more. Okay. Zach Perez, let's see. I went from working and being mobile to desk work pretty much every day. My body hurts more than ever has. All right, that's a good question, man. I want you to think about this. When you're at your desk, let's say you're sitting down. Okay. Let's say you're sitting down and you think, all right, well, I'm not moving. I'm being stagnant. Why am I in pain? You're sitting down, but you're still working. You're still resisting and you're resisting against gravity. And that's why it causes injuries and that's why it causes pain. And that's why it causes issues because even though you're sitting in a chair, the gravitational pull of the earth is still compressing you through the chair. So you're changing your postural alignment, right? You're putting more pressure. The lumbar spine is in a flexed position when you're sitting down. It's rounded a lot of you times when you slouch in a chair or you don't have good proper posture when you're sitting down or you're sitting down too often. You're not balancing it out with exercises, with mobility. So then all of a sudden you just have this like compounded pressure. Why do you think most of these herniated discs and bulging discs, what they all happen between L4, L5, and L5 and S1? It's all at the bottom when you have that interaction with the pelvis. It's all down at the bottom. And also those two lumbar vertebrae are the ones that support the weight of all the ones above it. The spine is like a little bit of a spring. It has a little bit of an S shape in order to provide compressive stress like a spring of a car. But when you're sitting down, when you change the alignment, it affects the body's ability to absorb stress. It affects the posture and the alignment of the vertebrae. And then let's say you step off a curb, but you're usually sitting in a car for 15 hours a day. All of a sudden, you're doing deliveries and truck driving and all that stuff. I mean, you're making a living, right? But then when you go step off a curb, all of a sudden your back, you have a pain that goes through your back because your lower back can't absorb shocks like that anymore. It can't be as reactive as normal because it's used to being folded and compressed and squeezed. So all of a sudden you take a step off that curb crossing the street one day randomly in the middle of June and you feel a shock going up your back and you're laid out for 5 days and you have a herniated disc and you need to go get surgery or whatever. That's how it happens. But, and many other ways, of course, but that's just one option. If you think about it, it makes sense. You're resisting gravity all the time. So you're sedentary. You're not creating balance. It's overloading one side of the joint, one motion or lack of motion, one position, one angle, one center of gravity, and it's just being compressed over and over and over and over again. And that's, even though you're not doing anything, you're still being compressed by gravity. And that's why you have those kind of compounded overuse injuries, from lack of movement too. Ali G, 1981. I can't wait to move into the new house to have a kitchen so I can cook those recipes. Yeah. Do some videos too. When you cook them, you have to take some pictures and post them up and be like, hey, look at this new recipe I did. Look at my new recipe. Look at me being healthy and making gains. Sometimes if I have less physical labor outside the gym, I get a better workout usually. Well, you have more energy. That makes sense. James Wallstrom in a Facebook. Endorphins from working out become addictive, but those rest days are a must. Active rest, active rest. I'm not a huge fan of just complete rest days. It depends. It depends. I feel like if you're meditating, it's not a rest day. You're actively recovering as long as you're doing something every day. It doesn't have to be physical. I don't know. I mean, there's a time for complete physical rest. I mean, usually yoga and stretching is never a bad thing. It's usually, casually. It doesn't have to be a hard workout. Dude, I'm squeezing out a fresh brown trout. Are you actually eating fish or are you taking a poop? Because that could be slang for poop, and we're not talking about poop right now. I do love a good poop podcast. I do love I do love poop talk on the podcast. I feel like that's underrated. But I don't know, not right now though. If that's a poo comment, we'll come back to it. Just let me know if you're talking about poop or not. Thanks, man. That's an awesome answer. Not the poop person. That was from Zach on Facebook. You're welcome, dude. You're welcome. And that was about the mobile or the immobile and being stagnant and having pain. So yeah, the body's interesting. The body will adapt. Whenever you think about these topics, and I want you to kind of ponder this later, the the thing I want you to think about is the concepts about it, right? It just makes sense. The body is going to adapt to what it's stressed and what stresses it's put under. But the body is going to do its best to survive. Bottom line, the body is going to do its best to survive and to live and to accomplish the tasks necessary day in and day out and keep your heart beating, keep everything moving, and crawl through the trenches, like literally crawl through the trenches if it has to in order uh, to get you where you need to go. Your body will do anything it takes to keep itself alive. And that's really what I want you to take away from this episode is that your body is going to do some amazing stuff and your body is going to adapt to the stress it has at hand. And strength versus mobility, they're really both extremely important depending on the context. But both of those extreme groups, the powerlifter and the average person that I talked about, just for the example's sake, mobility is going to take the cake, in my opinion. The mobility is going to win. Mobility is going to be the winner. All right. So, fam, love the recipes and the training videos. Well, thank you, Michelle. We're gonna do a poll in the Facebook Swolenormous group soon about that and see what everyone's favorite is. But yeah, those of you that are Swolenormous X members, a couple brand new instructional training videos and some new recipes. So go on over there and check it out. Swolenormousx.com. If you're watching and you are not a Swolenormous X member, get on the pony. That's where it's all going down. So new programming, got a couple new full workouts for the vault and some new yoga and mobility content, a lot of stuff, new recipes, just pretty much everything. Got a lot of new updates coming for the X site and I'll be following up with all of you before then, let you know what's coming. We'll do another State of the Swole in the Facebook group, and I'll let you know the new releases and the new outlook for the next couple of weeks and what you can expect. So that's going to be good. So just keep an eye out for that video in the private Facebook group. And for everyone else, make sure, hi, dad, hello, son, on Twitch. Hello, little boy, little, little tiny boy that should start lifting some weights and getting big and yoked like his daddy. You like that? You didn't expect that, troll, did you? Oliver Hallberg, digging the training vids, have not seen the recipes yet. Yeah, check it out, bro. You haven't seen them yet? Oh, you're going to like it. You're going to like it. James Wallstrom, I agree. I do a lot of stretching and use the foam roller and easy core on my rest day. No lifting. Good. Yeah. I mean, I think if you keep the engine running, you're going to see a lot more progress if you don't just like completely stop dead blah, and do nothing. All right. So remember, everyone, Quadcast, if you're not following me on Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, make sure you check out these channels on YouTube. Tons of training vids, new vlogs are up. So make sure you check it out. YouTube at Swolenormous. And of course, you can catch a ton of content also on my Instagram stories and Snapchat and so forth. So make sure you follow me everywhere. Everywhere. Kelly Langston Taylor. Recipes are awesome. Thank you. Good. All right. So we're gonna go more on the recipes. I'm gonna be loading some more stuff. So I'm gonna post a poll right now in the Facebook group and see where everyone's major interest is for the X content, and I'll continue for the Swolenormous X members to focus on all those areas that you find so juicy. So we'll get into that. Get it? Juicy recipes. I'm hungry too. So enjoy your Saturday. Get your pump on. Make sure you listen to this episode. It's a lot of fire that's going to help you direct your programming, direct your training a little bit more efficiently and focusing on the right things. If you get distracted, it's very easy to lose focus and lose purpose, but make sure you keep all your cards on the table and make sure you know what those cards are. Make sure you know where you're going, what you're doing, why you're doing it. And that's the beauty of having an organized training program and direction and approach. So if you're not focusing on mobility, I highly recommend you start turning up the spotlight on that in your training. So I will see everyone tomorrow for 758 of the Swole. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Swolenormous X members, I will see you in Swolenormous X, and I'll see everyone tomorrow again for 758.